You didn't decide debt was normal. Nobody sat you down and explained it. Nobody asked for your permission. It just became normal, quietly, gradually. And now you're here, making monthly payments on things you bought years ago, half of which you don't even remember. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a small voice is wondering, how did this become my life? That voice is worth listening to, because it's asking the right question. Here's what I want you to consider today. Not how to pay off debt faster, not which method works best. I want to talk about something that sits underneath all of that. The reason you have debt in the first place, and the reason it keeps coming back even after you've paid it down. Because until you understand that, you're not solving the problem. You're just managing it. So let's start somewhere uncomfortable. You have been marketed to since the moment you were old enough to want things. And the most sophisticated marketing in human history, backed by behavioral psychology, data science, and billions of dollars, has been aimed at one specific goal, making you feel like borrowing money is a natural, smart, even rewarding thing to do. Think about that. The entire language around debt was carefully redesigned. It's not a loan, it's access. It's not debt, it's credit. It's not owing money, it's earning rewards. Every word was chosen to reduce resistance, to make the thing that benefits them feel like the thing that benefits you. And it worked. According to Federal Reserve data, Americans are currently carrying over $17 trillion in consumer debt. 17 trillion. That number is so large, it stops meaning anything. So let me make it smaller. The average household in this country carries around $10,000 in credit card debt at an interest rate of roughly 22%. If that household only makes minimum payments, they will spend the next 12 to 15 years paying it off. And by the time they're done, they will have paid back nearly double what they originally borrowed. That is not a footnote. That is the business model. But here's the part nobody talks about. The reason most people don't feel that urgency, the reason 12 years doesn't feel like 12 years, is because the payment is designed to feel survivable. $80 a month, $120. It fits. It doesn't hurt badly enough to force action. And that's not an accident. The minimum payment exists to keep you in the system as long as possible, not to help you out of it. The bank is not your financial advisor. The credit card is not your friend. They are products, built to be profitable, and they are extraordinarily good at their job. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Companies are greedy, but I'm a grown adult. I make my own choices. And that's true, but I want to push back on something. Because the choices you think you're making freely, they're happening inside a system that was specifically designed to push you in one direction. That's not an excuse, it's just honest. Here's what I mean. Studies in behavioral economics consistently show that people spend between 15 and 30% more when they use a card instead of cash. Not because they're irresponsible, because physical cash creates what researchers call the pain of paying, a real, measurable discomfort that slows you down and makes you think twice. Cards eliminate that friction entirely, and in the absence of friction, spending becomes automatic. Your brain isn't really evaluating the decision, it's just completing a habit. And underneath the habit, there's something even deeper. Most consumer debt, and I want you to sit with this, isn't really about the thing you bought. It's about the life you were trying to signal, the car that felt right for your age, the vacation that made sense given what your friends were doing, the apartment in the neighborhood that matched your self-image. None of it felt like status anxiety. It just felt like living normally. But normal is a moving target, and it moves in one direction, up, always more. Always slightly out of reach, always requiring just a little bit more spending than what you actually have. This is what makes debt so persistent. It's not just a financial problem, it's a psychological one. And you can't budget your way out of a psychological problem. You have to see it first. Here's what seeing it looks like in practice. Take the total amount you owe, not the monthly payment, the total, and write it down somewhere you'll actually look at it. Then calculate what you're paying in interest per year, not per month, per year. For most people carrying average debt at current rates, that number is somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a year, just in interest, just to stay in place. That's a flight somewhere. That's a month of groceries. That's money that is actively leaving your life and going into someone else's profit margin while you sleep. Let that be uncomfortable. Because discomfort is the thing that drives action, and comfort is the thing that's been keeping you still. Then interrupt one automatic behavior, just one. Delete your saved card details from the site you shop on most. Use cash for discretionary spending for 30 days. Not forever, just long enough to reintroduce some friction, to give your brain a chance to actually evaluate the decision instead of just completing the habit. Research suggests around 3 to 4 weeks is enough to start shifting those patterns. And finally, and this one is quieter, but it might be the most important, pay attention to who shapes your definition of normal. The people you compare yourself to, the content you consume, the conversations you have about money. Because normal is contagious. If the people in your world normalize lifestyle debt will always feel fine. But if you can find even a handful of people who normalize building before spending, saving before buying, choosing long-term over comfortable right now, that becomes your baseline instead. You are not immune to your environment. Nobody is. The question is just whether you're choosing yours consciously or inheriting it by default. Look, debt feeling normal is not a personal failure. It is the output of a system that spent decades and billions of dollars making it feel that way. The wages didn't keep up. The costs went up. The marketing told you to bridge the gap with a card. That's not a character flaw. That's a trap with very good branding. But here's the thing about traps. Once you can see them clearly, they lose most of their power. You don't have to live inside someone else's definition of normal. You can choose a different one. It won't be fast. It won't be flashy. Nobody is going to run an ad for it. But on the other side of it is something most people never actually experience. The specific, clean, quietly radical feeling of owning your life outright. That's worth building toward. Start today.